Looking for a hot-headed woman. Hello there, everybody. How are you doing on this Prosperity Monday? Yes, I'll tell you, you look forward to Mondays, second day of the week. And so happy Prosperity Day. What's up, everybody? Good to see everyone. Thank you for being a part of this journey. You've added so much to my life, and I hopefully have added some back to yours. So hello, chat room. What's up? Jackie, how are you doing? Shirley, Colleen, good to see you, my dear. Bonnie, what's up? Lost in Space. Mark, good to see you as well. Stephen, good to see you as Loretta. Perception. It's everything. Everything. Hey, Steiger, we can actually talk to each other in the future, man. Yeah, it's pretty groovy, dude. You're looking good. Yeah, hanging out with some really cool people. That's all I got to say about that. So, anyway, as I continue to check everything out here, and we're off. So, welcome aboard. Hey, Coke Queen, good to see you. Street Mom, Brenda, how are you, dear? DC, what's up, Melissa? Hello, Linda Espinoza. John Price, how you doing? Hope you're here. We see you. CLT, good to see you. Annie, hello. So, how was y'all's time off? The Saturday, Sunday thing. Hope it was a good one. Weekend, beginning of the week, wherever it is. So cheers. Whatever libation you may have, enjoy it. It's one of the great things that these corporeal bodies provide. Yeah. What a trip, isn't it? So here's some factoids for you. 2024 is the year of the wood dragon. 2025 is the year of the snake. When I looked at myself in the Chinese charts, so I am at a goat. What was the year? Actually, there's a lot of goats that were born in the year I was born. Um, Wood goat specifically. Who'd have known? So anyway, happy year to the dragon, whatever it may be. Lost to Space, how was your weekend? Timothy, good to see you as well. What else is going on? Let's see, as I'm looking over my notes. So there is no truth, only the perception of what you see as truth. As a fact, I was really deeply I got a hold of these books and it was like, wow, it's amazing that when you're ready, the universe brings it. I think that's what's so beautiful about this is that, I was thinking earlier today, the universe has brought such precious gifts. I think the greatest gift is the gift of consciousness. I really do. So, anyway, I came across, and we're going to talk about it today because it was really kind of cool. Well, it was better than cool. It's like when you discover something that you've been looking for, and sometimes it eludes definition. It's like you have this hunch, this this perception, and then the universe comes along and says, "Oh, hey, you looking for this?" Yeah, I was. Thank you very much. Nina, what's up? Good to see you, darling. Mark Smith, how are you, my friend? And I see Tori. Hello, everybody in the chat room. Um, so it was brought to me, and I'm going to share a little bit with you. Um, because I love sharing the knowledge. I learn from y'all, and then when you come across this and you go, this is kind of cool because we were just talking this. Um, Amy, I want goats. Right on, right on. So here's a little point of our discussion for today. So let's just get this. And he pulls that up there. So in these books I was going through, I found it interesting. So spirit is that, excuse me, folks, this pepper in this chai tea is like, wow, it gets right in the back of your throat all the time, but yet it's so good for you. I mean, go figure. It's like bull nettle. How many of you know what bull nettle is? Um, it'll sting the crap out of you. But if you pick the plant and use the plant, get the spines off, it has so many medicinal purposes. Anyway, I digress. So, spirit, interesting thought here. Spirit is the force. It is a part of all organic beings. Spirit doesn't need intelligence or thought. Spirit is a force that produces life. I think that kind of really is kind of cool, isn't it? So there are three kinds of soul. So when you look at the essence of what we are, they call it in esoteric knowledge fluids. So you have the vital fluid, you have the magnetic fluid, and then you have the astral fluid. Each class of beings has a particular type of fluid that is part of what we would call the soul. So then you have the soul, and to define the soul, you have to really get specific because today we use what they call gutter language. English is a language that, for the most part, is trash talk. No longer any proper English, just like the Greek, Sanskrit. These ancient dead languages, we are discovering they left no ambiguity, like love. Well, what is love? So with the soul, you have the vital soul. This is common to all organic beings. You have the intellectual soul, which is associated with animals and man. You have the spiritual soul, which is only human beings, mankind, however you want to look at it. There are those beings who do not possess a soul in the definition that we were just speaking of. They mostly reside in the astral. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. Um, Vital soul kind of makes sense. And these books, which I encourage you, I have the PDFs and you can get them. They are really good. And when I came across this, I looked at this and I went, kind of makes perfect sense. Because there's a journey in each one of these, the vital soul. It's like the spirit. Spirit doesn't need a soul. It doesn't need intelligence. It doesn't need thought. But when you look at the different classes of, I guess is what I would look at, levels, you can really see that there is a hierarchy of such. So allow me a second to get out of there, get over here, and here we are again. So I think that's kind of cool. So is not English a mix of all the other languages that we can understand it or something like that? Actually, I guess it would depend on your perception. Some can say that English has many different versions, aspects, but the vast majority of people who speak English really don't understand English. They don't understand the language. Yeah. You should be able to articulate your thoughts, thus feelings, in such a manner that they communicate clearly to the listener so that there is no ambiguity. That's like we love the term crap, shit, you know, go to hell. This because within those phrases, it's a wide open, but everyone pretty much gets the idea. So anyway, uh, Tyler, good to see you. Hello, Jargo. Good to see you as well, my friend. And I see Elderberry there. So I came across these really phenomenal um, books. And we're going to get into a number of them because they're just so freaking cool. This is the in the Forgotten Book series. This is the Mystic Test Book of the Hindu Occult Chambers. It is the Magic and Occultism of India, Part 1, Chapter 1, dealing with the Hindu and Egyptian crystal gazing, together with the wonders of the Hindu magic mirror, clairvoyant vision, spirit, and astral spirit. And you just I'll read a little bit from each one, and then we got one we're going to look at specifically. Get this, and the guy that wrote this, it was a Hindu mystic, and we'll get a little bit more into his story. But he wrote here, he said, the most pitiful and yet the most grotesque sight that meets the eye of today is the presumption fools who does not stop to think that by his own actions, conduct, and very manner of living and believing, he is persistently closing his inner or spiritual sight to the real possibilities of life. These are concealed from him because he has never developed his inner or soul sight sufficient to realize or know that the most valuable asset in life is to know thyself and to see with the inner or spiritual sight. This book gives real instruction and Indian teachings as they are shown in South India. He who really and truly desires knowledge and is sincere, faithful, and steadfast in his or her efforts to obtain it will learn a great deal from this work. The half-brained, lazy, complaining fool, who is always suspicious of others robbing him, will learn nothing here, nor from no other book. He who is eternally crying and complaining is he who disbelieves. And he who disbelieves, that is, has no belief or confidence in himself to learn something from this book, is like the fool who complained because he could not see, while at the same time he was standing in his own light. So be careful that you are not guilty of standing in your own light. It says, as you delve into the Hindu, Egyptian ancient mysteries of the spirit world will open before you. The more you begin to understand the language of the adepts, the more grows your conception of that life and world called spirit, not seen by the outward sight. The occultism, anatomy, physiology, and physical psychology is all which they teach make of man something immeasurable greater than the puny and impotent being known to modern science as a compound of bones, muscles, and nerves. Modern science, materialism, attempts to prove that man is an animal. The teachings of the adepts show that he may be a god. Now, it's interesting when I brought in our discussion series, when I said, are you a god? It's quite I don't know if it's sad or if it's just whatever. But there are the vast majority of people. I had a number of people write and say, I can't see myself as a God. Because no matter as how much I try, I just can't see that. I can't accept that. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with that. You'll eventually figure it out anyway. We all do, eventually. Modern science invests him with the power to lift his own weight. Ancient science, occult philosophy, invest him with the power to control the density of the world. Modern science allows him to live for a very limited number of years. Ancient sciences teaches that he always existed and will never cease to exist if he desires to live. Modern science deals with the instrument that the real man uses as long and as often as he comes into relationship with the world of phenomenon, and she mistakes that instrument for the man. The adapts show you the true nature of the essential man, to whom one earthly existence is nothing more than one of many incidences of his eternal spiritual career. This power of spiritual perception, potentially contained in every man, but developed in few, is almost unknown to the guardians of science in our Western countries of modern civilization. Because learning is often separated from wisdom, and the inner or spirit sight and the calculating intellect seeking for worms in the dark caverns of the earth cannot see the genius that floats towards the light, and it cannot realize his existence. Now, I did that one question. What are you expecting when you die? Do you know the vast majority of humanity, of people, don't know? It frightens them. Well, you're talking about dying, man. Yeah, so what? If by what the sages are teaching, it seems we enjoy death. Seems odd, doesn't it? Well, what do you mean we enjoy death? We actually look forward to it. Apparently, it's a very, as opposed to birth, death is the release. It's orgasmic. It's explosive of light, neurons bursting. And then you're in this mystical transformation. You become a fluid. Yeah, weird shit, isn't it? It was known to the ancient peoples, to the Arats, the Rashis of the East, to the initiated Brahmins, the Egyptians and Greeks, and the Hindu sages. Its fundamental doctrines are found in the Hindu Vedas and the sacred books of the East. Upon these secret doctrines rest the fundamentals of the religions and secret orders of the world. They form the essence of the secrets that were revealed only to the initiate in the inner temple, where the ancient mysteries were taught and whose disclosure to the vulgar was forbidden under the penalty of torture and death. They were secrets known to the ancient sages and to the Hindu adepts and the Rashicruans of the Middle Ages, and upon a partial understanding of their truth rests the system of modern Freemasonry. They are not to be confounded with speculative philosophy that reasons from the known to that which cannot know, trying by the flickering light of logic and orthodoxy to grope its way into the darkness and to feel the objects which it cannot see. These doctrines were taught by the seers of old, who possessed spiritual power and the inner sight to see. Such men were the great religious reformers of all ages, from Confucius, Zoroaster, down to Jacob, Bohemi, Straussism, and their teachings have been verified by everyone whose purity of mind and whose power of the intellect have enabled him to see and to understand the things of the Spirit, God. Some of their doctrines refer to morals and ethics. Others are of a purely scientific character, but both aspects of their teachings are intimately connected together because beauty cannot be separated from truth. They both form the 2 pages of a leaf in the book of universal nature, whose understanding confers upon the reader not merely opinions, but knowledge, and renders him not only learned, but illuminated with wisdom and a spirit sight at will. Among those who have taught the moral aspect of the secret doctrines, there are none greater than Buddha, Plato, and Jesus of Nazareth. Of those who have taught its scientific aspect, there have been none more profound than Hermes, Trismegistus, Pythagoras, and Paracelsus. They obtained their knowledge not merely from following the prescribed methods of learning, but by accepting the opinions of the recognized authorities of their times. But they studied nature by her own light and learned the lessons: know thyself. And they become lights themselves, whose rays illuminate the world of mind. What they taught has been to a certain extent verified and amplified by the teachings of Eastern adepts, the yogis, and the hierophants of the Orient. That far out? Hell yeah, it is. And let me just show you, we're going to get into these books are really, really cool. This is the book of the Black Magic and of the Pacts, including the rites and mysteries of Goetic Thuggery, sorcery, and infernal necromancy. Also, the rituals of Black Magic by author Edward Waite. L.W. de Lawrence. This is a guy that, well, he wrote the following. He's the author of the great book of magical art, Hindu magic and East Indian occultism, the sacred book of death, Hindu spiritualism, soul transition, and soul reincarnation, the mystic textbooks of the Hindu occult chambers, the mystic and the occult of India, the wonders of the magic mirror, Hindu and Egyptian crystal gazing, astral auras and colors, the immanence of God, know thyself, God, the Bible, truth, and the Christian theology, owning the controlling, the publishing anyway, of the occult works. So we got those books. Here's one of them that we're going to get into. This is the great book of the magical art of the Hindu magic and the Eastern Indian occultism, the book of the secret Hindu ceremonial and talismanic magic. These are some really just, I got to tell you, all weekend, that's all I did was read these. It's just, when the student is ready. This is the mystic textbook of the Hindu occult chambers, the magic and occultism of India, Hindu and Egyptian crystal gazing, the Hindu magic mirror. Phenomenal stuff. That's all I can tell you. You really learn this gentleman here. He lived back in the late 19th, early 20th centuries, and was chosen. So I want to get over into this particular book. Now, this book here is, let me get back up here so everyone can see where we're at in the book. This is one that I have just found particularly interesting. As I pull it up here, here is the gentleman. He's crossed over, may have already come back, I don't know. But that's an intense individual. I mean, you just get the sense, even in death, he still lives. I mean, his knowledge, his magic, his power. And that was the thing I was telling Lynn, because, I'm in here in the office and it's just, I don't want to go back out. I'm spending hour after hour after hour reading this man's writings. And yeah, um, this is the sacred book of death, Hindu spiritualism, soul transition, and soul reincarnation. Uh, Dr. L.W. D. Lawrence, um, just would have welcomed the opportunity to have met this guy. Um, it's just, well, you find out that Westerners, us, me, if you're probably listening, we are, we're, wow. The only thing I can say is that we're handicapped. We truly are. We, we don't seem to really get it. We're um, so, we're held in bondage to materialism. The system itself forces that. And so the great battle is how do you get yourself out of it? And how do you find the balance? Well, these teachings from the East are pretty much, I think that there's a reason why the West has squashed this mindset. It's just not something that they like. Now, I'm going to get into this. This is very interesting, understanding what the Sanskrit is. As Dr. Lawrence wrote, carefully constructed, systematically formed from the sands together and the paw, meaning parkreek, made. It is thus opposed to the parakeet. And it gets into what the Sanskrit, why it's important to have an understanding of it, and because it holds the key. It's a dead language. I often wonder about that. Dead languages. I found this interesting. This is Namandamus. Obey this warning. Says this famous book of death, Hindu spiritism, soul transition, and soul and reincarnation by Dr. De Lawrence, the Moseses of the Hindus, is the personal property of, and you can put your name in here. Now listen to this. The same being a rare and valuable volume of ancient Hindu wisdom and celestial fire, written and arranged in the Hindu manner of self-instruction, and in consequence of this, every person is warned and most earnestly cautioned never to steal the same, nor distort, nor tamper with the teachings or formulas given therein. For if you steal this volume, or by intention cause perversion of the formulas, sacred Hindu names, or seals contained therein, you will attract an evil spirit and other powerful influences which will most surely do you injury and cause you to regret your damnable actions to the day of your death. Should you be so foolish or rash as to steal this sacred volume, which is the private property of thy neighbor, before you have read and received this mandamus, return it unto him at once, and no harm will befall you. But if thee dares to disobey this warning, woe be unto thee. For the great system and order of the Hindu adapts and the master lamas of India and China have their astral and occult guards who can witness your every action, see and know every thought that goes through your brain, and they will not hesitate, for they know too well how to avenge thefts or tampering with their occult teachings. So beware and obey this mandamus. Otherwise, you will never know peace, fortune, or contentment afterwards. So is this a curse? Is this a warning? You got to go, I mean, I'm seriously, if someone handed that to you, you go, excuse me. Uh, and so that just grabs your attention right there. You just go, okay, happened here. So as he pulls this up, I love this guy's writing. And the Book of Death. The Book of Death explains the miracle and mystery of life, of trances and death, where mysteries is rife. I'm intrigued. I don't know about you. It's like, yeah, I think I'd like to go on. Um, okay. To the memory of the long line of noble adepts and masters of India and China, and those intelligent souls of the astral world above, who have revealed and handed down unimpaired the tenets of the fraternity of Hindu spiritism, and to my living cellist disciples, who are emulating their illustrious example and teachings of magic, spiritism, and immortality, all to whom posterity will rise up and call blessed of this sacred book of death, is fraternally and sincerely dedicated by the author. 1906. Like I said, when I started getting into this book, I couldn't put it down. It's like, wow. I mean, it was this, it was like seeing the 4th of July, but it was on a galactic scale. It says death and magic have always been contemporary and always shall be in every age of the world. Death and soul transition, spirit communication, and magic were contemporaneous with the birth of man in this world, which to all were like unto a vow of tears. Death and immortality to the soul of the Western individual is a sad recital throughout, because the human heart has in all ages hungered for true knowledge of the existence and presence of the dear departed. However, they are oftentimes ridiculously owing to the Christian doctrine and theory of atonement, which is founded upon a total misconception and crude interpretation of the true teachings of Spiritism, and are so glaring that little wonder it be that the human soul of man recoils from the horrible picture painted by many of the future life of man. Oriental teachings and traditions teach man the mysteries of his present and future life. Eastern magic teaches man the art of performing things which surpasses the powers of his physical and material nature. These teachings are thought by some to be more than ordinarily bad, in consequence of a compact, expressed or implied, with evil spirits. This is nonsensical. For by true magic, which same not being sorcery or black magic, man can find profit and be taught that which is of vital importance to himself and family. Man will discover magic at every epoch in history. True, man has made use of magic to the domineering over man. The chroniclers of every age teem to overflowing with narrations of magical operations, as does the far-reaching memories of every human soul, which follows these facts. The sorcerer and his disciples who pay homage to evil spirits always have had their tables heaped with vendas and wine, as the witch or sorcerer may become very powerful indeed in suspending the faculties of man and even animals, and alter certain things, also of binding to sickness, love, or hatred. But in time, surely self-torment shall consume his soul, neither shall he know any happiness. This is sacred truth, incontrovertible. For remember that which thee seeks, thee will attract to thy soul, and what thee asks with, thy occult powers, for these are the terrible instruments of the sorcerer. Thee will surely receive 1,000-fold, for he who is in league with familiar spirits will regret it. Now, what I find interesting as I was writing my notes on this, so it's a given. I mean, we exist in a realm that's crowded. There is this teaching that says that the true creator does not create empty space. It's very clear that the veil spoken of is, well, it's apparently easily traversed. You just have to have the understanding. And what's interesting, I'll give you a little peek as to what happens as you read further in these books. You carry this knowledge with you. It doesn't go anywhere. And if you feast upon it and allow it to germinate, it's amazing. So this is the introduction. The teachings of East Indian occultism are the true wisdom, and he who hath it not can in no way penetrate the true secrets of spirit magic. And let me just give you a little heads up. If you're here listening to this, then congratulations. You'll read here. There's a reason why the world's not attracted to this. According to the words and the beliefs here and the teachings, it's because, well, as I said, you almost give yourself a pat in the back. Yeah, there you go. And he but buildeth upon a foundation of sand, and his building can in no way last. Many conjurers of black and devilish arts have attempted to persuade me to be wise, while they themselves, with words which I myself well understood, but which is of little known, and with extravagant symbols made bells to sound, and while with exercisable conjurations made appear in glasses him who had committed a theft, and they made a liquor, causing an old man to appear young, and that only for a space of 2 hours and no longer. All these things which they indeed taught me, but the whole was but vanity, low curiosity, and a pure deception of the evil spirits, leading to no useful end imaginable, and tending to the loss of the soul. I, having the true veritable knowledge of the sacred Hindu magic, and banished them from mine heart and desires. These impious conjurers, with the aid and assistance of evil spirits, perform astounding feats. They used to render themselves invisible, so as to be able to enter locked up rooms. They knew our greatest secrets, and once they told me things which only I alone could know. Now, coming out of my religion, I knew about familiar spirits for decades. We all have them. That's why when you begin to engage them, they seem to know everything about you. Even the very thing that you don't want anyone to know about you, they know. The gullible, we become very trustworthy. But there is a warning. Even Paul wrote, test the spirits. Do you have a test for the spirits? But this art costs them too dearly, for the evil spirits had made them swear in the pact that they would use all their secrets to the dishonor of their friends and to the prejudice of their neighbors. Ultimately, their soul and body was dragged through deep misery. This was all the profits they drew from their diabolical science and damnable magic. In some parts of the Orient, I found an infinitude of black magicians who only occupy themselves in killing and maiming men, in putting discord among married people, in causing divorces, in trying witch knots in oysters and willow branches to stop the flow of milk to the breast of nursing women, and similar infamies. But these miserable wretches had also made a pact with evil spirits and had become their slaves, having sworn unto them that they would work without cessation to destroy the happiness of all living creatures. I have in my notes in here, when I read that, I went, why? I mean, if life is so freaking miserable that this is what you think is power, how pathetic. But us humans, we are gods, and we're gods of many things. Some of these had 2 years for their pact to run, some 3, and after that time they underwent the same fate as all who had formed a pact with evil spirits. At the Benares, India, I was introduced to a young Indian woman who one evening invited me to go with her, assuring me that without any risk, she would conduct me to a place where I greatly desired to find myself. I allowed myself, in order to find her out, to be persuaded by her promises. She then gave unto me an unguent with which I rubbed the principal pulses of my feet and hands. That then which she did also. And at first it appeared to me that I was flying in the air in the place which I wished, and which I had in no way mentioned to her. I passed over in silence, out of respect for my disciples, that which I saw. After I appeared to have remained there a long while, I felt as if I were just awakening from a profound sleep, and I had a decided pain in my head. I turned around and saw that she was seated at my side. She began to ask me what I had seen, and that which I had seen was something I never wished to behold again. I was, however, much astonished, because it appeared to me as if I had been really and corporeally in the place, and there in reality to have seen that which had happened. One day I asked her to go alone to that same place and to bring me back news of a Hindu friend whom I knew for certain was distant 200 leagues. She promised to do so in the space of an hour. She rubbed herself with the same unguent, and I was very expectant to see her fly away, but she fell to the ground and remained there about 3 hours as if she were dead, so that I began to think that she was, in fact, really dead. At last she began to stir like a person who was waking. Then she rose to an upright position, and with much pleasure began to give me the account of her expedition, saying that she had been in the place where my friend was, and told me all that he was doing, which was entirely in keeping with his profession, of which I had told her nothing. Whence I concluded that what she had just told me was not a simple dream, and that this unguent was not a causer of astral sleep. Whereon she confessed to me that this unguent had been given to her by the evil spirits. All the arts of the witches and conjurers are enchantments and fascinations, through which wonderful things can be done. But the evil spirits hold them enchained in these accursed arts, so that the foundation of true magic may be unknown to them, which would render them more powerful than they. And I was the more confirmed in this opinion, because their operation were of no practical use whatsoever, and caused injury unto him who put them into practice, as in fact many of them avowed plainly to me that they were envious because I was an adept who had the true and sacred magic of the Hindus. There are also many operations which they say are handed down from the ancient Zulus. There is an art called white and black exhaust, an angelical tinium, in which I avow that I have seen orations so learned and beautiful that I had not known the venom therein hidden. I would have given them herein. I say all this because it is very easy for him who is not constantly up his consistently upon his guard to err in the study of spirit magic. Symbols. One old scribbler of symbols taught me many enchantments which only tended to work evil. He performed other operations by means of evil spirits and certain secret fumigations, which were all odd and of triple proportion, in no way similar to the others. And for proof of this, he caused by such means, in my presence, a very fine tree which was near our temple to fall to the ground, and all the leaves and fruits were consumed in a very short time. And he told me that in numbers there was hidden a very great mystery, which I had already had knowledge of, because that by means of numbers one can perform all the operations for friendship, riches, honors, love, and all sorts of things, good and evil. And he assured me that he had tried them, and that some that he knew were very true, for they had succeeded with him. Shows that this stuff works, right? Well, no. Oh, ye of little faith, right? With regard to this particular, I found out the reason through an ancient Hindu priest who told me that this came and depended upon a divine mystery, that is to say, from the Kabbalah, and that without that one could not succeed. All these things have I beheld, and many others, and those who possessed these secrets gave them to me out of friendship. I have never taught these recipes afterwards, they being absolutely things very far removed from the will of God, and contrary to the charity which we owe unto thy neighbor. Every learned and prudent man may fall if he be not defended and guided by the good spirits who advised and aided me, and prevented me from falling into such a state of wretchedness, and who led me, undeserving, from the mire of darkness into the light of the true magic. I have known and felt the effects of the goodness of a certain wise Hindu priest, who, of his own free will, and before I had asked him so to do, accepted me for his disciple. And before that I had declared my wish unto him, he would accomplish and fulfill my desire, and all that I wished to obtain from him he knew before I could open my mouth. Also, he recounted to me all that I had seen, done, and suffered from that time of my birth down to that moment, and this in words obscured, as it were prophetic, which I did not then fully comprehend, but which I understood later. He told me many things touching many good fortunes, and that my teachings would become famous in America, as they have. But which was the principal thing? He discovered to me the source of the venerable Magick, which, according to their custom, I have in turn communicated upon to my disciples in the great book of magical art, Hindu magic, and East Indian occultism, after they have fulfilled their requisite conditions, without the accomplishment of which the power and this sacred Hindu magic cannot be exercised, and which I have recounted in this volume. Makes you want to read it, don't you? After he did manifest unto me the regime of the mystery of that sacred Hindu magic, which was exercised and put into practice by his forefathers and progenitors, Razum, Uzajib, Iquiz, and Tenebi, I believe, among whom the last misused it, and he received the punishment thereof during his life. In the great book of magical art, I have described the whole faithfully and clearly, in order that if the Lord God should wish to dispose of me before these teachings shall have obtained great use in this age, thou shalt find this great volume an inestimable treasure and a faithful master and teacher, because there are very many powerful secrets in the symbols of this book, which I have made experiment of with my own self, and they are perfectly true, and which afterwards many of my disciples, which are in every country in the world, have performed. I found no one who worked these things truly without this great book of magical art. And although many have walked in the same path, nevertheless, the Hindu priests, as a just judge, did not in any way wish to grant unto them the sacred magic in its entirety, because they desired the great book of the magical art, Hindu magic, and East Indian occultism. Gotta love this guy. And to be published by myself. It matters not whatever religion you believe in, you can arrive at the perfection of this work and become a master. But he who hath abandoned spiritual law and embraced materialism, which is opposed to the spirit magic, can never arrive at a state of happiness and condition of mind to be able to climb to the summit of this sacred art. Wow. Dr. L.W.D. Lawrence, The Adapt in Art, Magic, and Famous Magicians by Alchemy and Fire. Now, this is a fascinating read, and I'm trying to keep time to be respectful. So I'm just going to keep on because, again, I think you're really going to like this. And again, if you want the book, be more than happy. It's available out there on PDF. And the guy knew that there would be a day when, dude like myself comes along and goes, this is pretty far out. And then the spirit explodes and you're going, yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm right. I'm right in tune with that, All right, spiritism. From the Sanskrit writing of the Hindu new ideas and new words which are needed, in order to secure clearness of language by avoiding the confusion inseparable from the employment of the same term for expressing different meanings, are to be secured. The words spiritual, spiritualist, spiritualism have a definite acceptation. To give them a new one in order to apply them to the doctrine set forth by spirits would be to multiply the causes of the amphiboliology, already so numerous. Strictly speaking, spiritualism is the opposite of materialism. Everyone is a spiritualist who believes that there is in him or her something more than matter. But it does not follow that he believes in the existence of spirits or in their communication with the visible world. Instead, therefore, of the words spiritual, spiritualism, employed in these writings to designate this latter belief, the words spiritus and spiritism, which by their form indicate their origin and radical meaning, and have thus the advantage of being perfectly intelligible, and we, ancient Hindu priests, reserve the words spiritualism, spiritualist, for the expression of the meaning attached to them by common acceptation. We say then that the fundamental principle of the spiritist theory or spiritism is the relation of the material world with spirits. or the beings of the invisible world. And we designate these adherents of the theory of spiritist. Well, from a layman, if I was hearing this for the first time, I'd say, well, guess that answers that question. There's a lot more here than you and I. I like this. In a special sense, the Book of Death, Wisdom, and Celestial Fire contains the doctrines and truths of Spiritism. In a general sense, it is apparitions to the spiritualist cult, of which it presents one of the phases. It is for this reason that I have inscribed the words death and soul transition on its title page. There is another word of which is equally necessary to define the meaning, because it is the keystone of every system of occultism, and also because, owing to the lack of a precise definition, it has been made the subject of innumerable controversies. I refer to the word soul. The divergence of opinion concerning the nature of the soul is a result of the variety of meanings attached to this word. A perfect language in which every idea had its own special term would save a vast deal of discussion, for in that case, misunderstanding would be impossible. Some Western writers define the soul as being the principle of organic life, having no existence of its own and ceasing with the life of the body. Accordingly, to this purely materialistic belief, the soul is an effect and not a cause. Others consider the soul as being the principle of intelligence, the universal agent, of which each being absorbs a portion. According to them, there is, in the entire universe, only one soul, which distributes sparks of itself among all intelligent beings during their life. Each spark, after the death of the being it has animated, returning to the common source and blending again with the general whole. Well, as brooks and rivers return to the ocean from which they were produced. This opinion differs from the preceding one inasmuch as, according to the latter hypothesis, there is in us something more than matter, something that remains in existence after our death. But practically, it is much as though nothing remained of us, since no longer possessing individuality, we should retain no consciousness of our identity. According to this hypothesis, the universal soul is God, and each being is a portion of the divinity. It is a species of pantheism. According to others, again, the soul is a moral being, distinct, independent of matter, and preserving its individuality after death. This acceptation of the word soul is certainly the one most generally received, because under one name or another, the idea of being that survives the body is found as an instinctive belief and independently of all teachings among all nations, whatever their degree of civilization. This doctrine, according to which the soul is a cause and not an effect, is that of the Hindu of sacred caste. Without discussing the value of these opinions and considering the subject merely under the philosophical aspects, we say that these three applications of the word soul constitute three distinct ideas, each of which demands a different term. Soul has therefore a triple meaning and is employed by each school according to the special meaning it attributes to that word. In order to avoid the confusion naturally resulting from the use of the same word to express three different ideas, it would be necessary to confine the word to one of three ideas. It would not matter to which, provided the choice were clearly understood. I think it more natural to take it in its most common acceptation. And for this reason, I've employed the word soul to indicate the immaterial and individual being which resides in us and survives the body. Even if this being did not really exist and were only the product of the imagination, a specific term would still be needed to designate it. And I can see I'm running out of time. Okay. Well, we'll pick up on this probably on Wednesday, because tomorrow at the Trina and Jennifer coming. I love this study, folks. It just, to me, and like I said, I can only speak for myself. When I was looking for the answers, they came, and I really enjoyed this guy's writing. And then as you get deeper into the book, these are ancient knowledge, secrets. I don't know. Guess it can't be a secret if, well, guess it can be. So I'm thinking, well, sure it can be. Well, anyway, like I said, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but in a world that's going freaking crazy, where you've got people that are just losing their minds, walking like soulless beings, they have no purpose, no direction. And the direction that they're being led in is a direction of annihilation. Well, that sucks. I intend to do something about that. And it's done by knowledge. It's done knowledge that is not taught at your school. Rage Against the Machine, you're welcome. Folks, we're going to do this. You know, we've been talking about the necessity of your faith. You got to build your faith. And it's your magic. I mean, I could say faith is magic. Magic is faith. Powerful shit, man. That's all I know. You can create things out of nothing. You can take an idea, focus in on it, study it, make it become so real that you've lived 1,000 times and seeing the result. You've had all the emotions, and lo and behold, it comes to pass. So many of us, in fact, I could say for all of us in here, we all have the same story. The miraculous. Great men and women of faith here. Faith in themselves. Seeking a knowledge. Not condemning, not condoning any one belief. The fact of the matter is you'll find out as we go continue in this study, you have to get to that place where you have to understand there really is no good or evil. There's no death or life. We're living an experience of a thought. All of us are. This is a thought. And how fabulous is it? I mean, and if you can then, and many of us here, there are many adepts in this group. That's where our hunger is, you know? It's like if you had an opportunity to go any place and you had choices, and all of these others were different vacation places, but if you had that one place to go where you could get the ancient teachings, yeah, sign me up. I'm already there. Hey, voiceover, how are you doing? We're not born evil. Who says that? I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, we're gods. We're learning. We don't know everything. That's not how it works. If you knew everything, then you would have no purpose for life. You would have no purpose for existence. No. Many of us, we see it as we continue to go through this. And you're not an age either. If anything, you're an experience. You're a thought. What the hell does that mean? I don't know. All right. Hey, Suzanne, what's happening? Good to see you. So everybody, Jackie, good to see you. Danielle, hello. Good to see you. So, hey, see you tomorrow with the ladies. And I tell you, to me, this is what makes it worthwhile. You know, then you can start building that perception. There is no truth. Hey, if I told you you were God and you didn't believe it, well, you wouldn't find that truth. I would absolutely know that it is true, but you would absolutely say, no, that's not the truth. Perception, baby. And I perceive all of you as Beautiful people. Thank you all. I appreciate it. And until we meet again, and we shall. All right. All you gods and goddesses, create.